Hello netizens, it's Michael here. I'm reporting back in after having dropped off the radar for several months to show you the end result of my build out for my van. This is my new home. I'm going to be moving in here over the course of the next month or so, and I just said I just kind of wanted to show you what it looks like. Why I made some of the choices I made. You can kind of see the conditions I'm living in. If you'd seen my previous video, it's kind of low quality. I know, I'm still kind of new to this whole, vlogging thing. It's a little weird to me. But, yeah. So, the reason I'm getting into this van, as I said in my previous video, is that I have a very simple philosophy in terms of what generates personal success. You get into a position where you earn regular money from some source, whether it be your own business or a job or whatever you want, what have you. You spend as small a fraction as you possibly can for as long as you want, or as long as you possibly can, and invest as much as possible in preferably some kind of income stream that's passive, whether that be technology stocks, whether that be dividend earning stocks, whether that be your own business, whether that be whatever you want. You invest it into something that earns passive income at a reasonable rate. In my case, I'm expecting between 8 to 10% annually on average over the course of 5 to 10 years. You invest as much as possible, 75-80% of your income. You live on 5 or 10%, and the rest goes to taxes, or perhaps more than that goes to taxes, who knows. I'm talking mostly about net income here. I'm always assuming that taxes are something that comes out. And then after 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 years, you'll have presumably a critical mass of money built up, of capital built up, where you just don't have to work anymore. The interest earnings from your capital are large enough that you can live on 2, maybe 3% of that capital, and the capital will generate enough interest income that it can continue to grow itself while allowing you to sustain yourself on that small amount of interest earnings. And hey presto, you're financially free. It's not exactly a magical process. It's not very complicated. I'm not exactly the smartest person in the world, but I don't know, it seems pretty straightforward. It's definitely something I can execute on, and will be doing so. The van is just the first step. I've basically taken all the steps necessary to eliminate the water bill, the electric bill, the rent, property taxes, any mortgage, renter's insurance, technically homeowner's insurance. I've taken the precautions to eliminate, or the necessary steps to eliminate, pretty much everything, except a few minor things, like all the stuff that goes with vehicle maintenance that people that own homes or rent or whatever would normally have anyways, like car insurance or registration, etc. Things of that nature. I do have a good bit of capital wrapped up in the solar electric system. That's a pretty sizable investment, so I'm hoping it'll pay off over time. The parts should last. They all have very long warranties on them and long potential lifespans, so they should outlast their payoff date, which means that they would be a positive investment and would start generating essentially pure profit in terms of the savings they give me after something like 6 years, I think. 5 or 6 years. And I plan on being in this van for at least that long, if possible. We'll see how it goes. Things don't always go according to plan, but that's the scenario I've worked out thus far, with some plus and minus, quite a bit of margin for error. Anyhow, let me stop rambling on and get to what I was going to show you. Well, let's see here. Alright. If you look down here, you can see my hammock folded up sort of in the corner here. It's attached by a metal hook up there. It's just for sleeping in, basically. I string it up when I'm ready to sleep or relax, and It worked great. I like sleeping in a hammock. It's a lot more comfortable than a bed as far as I'm concerned, and if it ever gets dirty, I just take it down and throw it all in the washer at one time. Problem solved. And it's also really lightweight and cost me 15 bucks. So it's really, really cheap compared to a mattress or other setup. Here you see my fresh water containers. I have 13 gallons of fresh water, one 7-gallon aquatainer, one 6-gallon jerry can. You can see down here, those of you with hawk eyes will see that I have 1 inch of polyisocyanurate insulation on the floor and a 1/2 inch of plywood, and I have a bulkhead that's about 4 inches deep. It's, you know, fully packed with, well, it's built out of 2x4s and some steel road plates, and it's curved to fit the van, so the door seals up against it, so it's a hermetic bulkhead. Effectively hermetic. It certainly prevents air infiltration and light infiltration, so it's quite nice. If we look around, it's even got a door in it. If we get up inside here, don't mind the shaking. I grab my chair real fast that I keep suspended with this bungee cord when we're driving around, keep it from bumping into stuff. You can see my desk and workspace here. A little mouse pad. I'm going to put my triple monitor battle station in here pretty soon, but for the moment it's just a desk, an empty desk, workspace. Got a thermometer. It's frickin' boiling today. It's pushing 100 degrees at least, and it's very, very humid. You can see here that I have a door with a thumb bolt on the inside for, you know, a mild amount of security, but mostly just to keep the door from sort of wibbly wobbling around. It's got 3 simple hinges. The door is also 4 inches deep, made out of 2x4s. I think I can open it. Oh no, I've got it locked. Anyways, yeah, it's made out of 2x4s, 4 inches deep. It's completely packed with insulation, with the same polyisocyanurate stuff. Let's see, 4 inches is, or 3.5 inches of polyiso is supposed to be like R28 or something like that. It's pretty good. It's just this one bulkhead wall, but every little bit helps. If you look around here, you can see, well, all the walls and the ceiling and all that are made of plywood. They're 1/4 inch thick plywood. It was really nice stuff they had at Home Depot, but they stopped supplying it after a while, and you'll notice that the door on the bulkhead is made of not the same kind of plywood. Not the same shade. It's kind of weird. It's like triple ply instead of single, but whatever. Look up here, you can see my 2 cheap Walmart lights that you just sort of poke. Yeah, they got 2 settings of brightness each. They're LEDs and they run on AA's, so they don't drain my main battery, and I can replace them at any time. You can see up here I've got some spare storage. Well, before we do that, let's talk some more about the structure. You can see up here I've got some cedar planks. It keeps insects out and looks kind of nice. I can't actually smell. I'm anosmic, but I hear it also smells good. And it also helps to sort of cover up the extra that the plywood was missing. So it made up for the extra width. And it looks alright, I think. It's, you know, it's first attempt. I'm no carpenter, I'm a physicist. But you see here we got our home built, I guess, overhead storage. This is our aircraft compartment. It's pretty cool. It's very sturdy, perhaps a little too sturdy. But this is probably where I'm going to store food, dry food items, and I don't know, whatever I need. I plan on eating mostly Soylent for the next, well, 5 or 7 or 10 years or whatever. So I'm not sure what all the storage is going to be used for yet, but I'm sure I'll come up with something. Toiletries, towels, whatever. Although I can fit all that stuff in this little, all the nooks and crannies on this thing. I mean, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. I have plenty of storage. And I've got these plastic Walmart drawers here. There. Woo! Oh my, fancy. Ooh, wow, high tech. Made of polymers. Ooh. Ooh. Yeah, well, anyways, I can fool myself here. You can see I use the red bungee cord to secure my water tanks, so they don't wobble around. They're pretty sturdy. They don't currently have any water in them because I'm not quite ready to move in, and I don't just want to have a bunch of water evaporating in here with the doors closed. You can see my sort of wiring rat's nest down there in that cubby. Kind of ugly, but I'm working on making it a little more secure, a little better looking, maybe a little more efficient. You can also see here I've got a simple power strip, plug in monitors, computers, whatever. When I get my battle station in here finally. You can look over here. You can see my under sink storage, perhaps. There you go, yeah. There's plenty of space. I've got a water pump in there in the little corner. Pull it out real fast. Some Gorilla Tape bouncing around in there. You can see here, I've got a simple Harbor Freight water pump, little hand pump. I just pump water out of my freshwater tanks into my sink, which is just a black vulcanized fiberglass reinforced rubber bowl from Tractor Supply, usually used for food or water storage for cows and other farm animals. Got a little hole in it for a sink with a little RV drain plug in it. It's quite nice. Well, I say nice. It's more like just a nice cost-saving measure, and it gets the job done. The plan is, well, let me give you a look at the storage here. The plan is to, hold on, there we go. You can see my gray water tank here, 7 gallons gray water storage with an outlet valve down there on the right. It's sort of propped up against the wheel well to make it drain more efficiently, so no water gets trapped in it. You can see here, we've got a little bit of, well, that's the drain outlet there. Just put the plug back in and it holds water. And that is how you bathe or otherwise use the sink here. You just put a bunch of water, you fill this up to a certain height, and then you splash it on your face or on a rag or something, and you use that to sponge bathe and clean yourself up, just like the medieval people did. And if you're brushing your teeth, you just use the water after you're done bathing in it, if you want. Or you can use fresh water if you want to be a little wasteful. It's up to you. It really doesn't matter that much to me. I usually just, you know, switch the water out. I put water in for bathing, I use all that water, and then I put a little bit of water in for brushing my teeth. And then, hey presto, good to go. And I don't reuse the same bathing water, but I'm very conservative in both times. That way I don't waste any of my limited 13-gallon supply. I reckon, by my estimate, I can go about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks if I'm really frugal, 13 gallons. I might be able to do a little better than that, or a little worse. We'll see. If you look over here, you can see my closet, my hanging closet. I've got my old military-style greatcoat, Russian wool greatcoat in here, sort of sitting around. Looks like it's doing all right. I don't think it's got any trouble, any issues. Yeah, it's a real nice coat in the winter. Got a nice leather motorcycle jacket in here. I have a motorcycle as well, but I don't have it out right now. It's packed in there with all the other crap in the garage before I sort of finally move out. And my bicycle's also sitting right about right here, if you can see it. Right there. Yeah. It's a little red and gray and silver one. It's just a men's Great Divide, nothing special. It's a Sears bike that I got for free. It gets the job done. I'm not, you know, it certainly takes some abuse. It's a very very good bike for the most part, as far as, you know, a Sears bike goes. You can see here I've got a small fan, little Lion Breeze, I think is what they're called. Yeah. Well, whatever they are, it's a small fan, regardless, small metal fan. Pulls 0.12 amps AC, or 0.1265 amps AC. Let me look at it. Sorry, 0.165 amps AC, or 12 watts, which would be about 1.65 amps DC. So a little less than 2 amps DC power, which is pretty good. For a 300 amp hour battery, this thing will run for, oh geez, probably 180 hours continuously. I can't see a use case where I'm going to be running it that often, but it can be done. It's a very small fan, so it's nothing fancy. And in addition to that fan, I have a, well, for this winter, this is really out of season right now, I have this cool thing called a handy heater. See? Handy heater. This thing is awesome. I used it a little bit last winter when I didn't have batteries in here, just plugged into shore power. And it will run on batteries. I've tried it, but it's the summer right now, so it's not fantastic. Show you some of the power specs here. It runs on 350 watts to 400 watts of power. That's a lot of power, frankly. I don't remember what the calculation goes. It's like 4 amps AC, I think, so close to 40 amps DC. So it's pretty power hungry. It's quite a power hungry device. It will not run for too terribly long. It's probably more like 3 amps, so it'll run for a good 6 or 8 hours continuously on my battery, and it shouldn't run continuously because of how well insulated this van is. It's got roughly R6 to R7, maybe R8 on the floor, if you count the spray foam insulation and all that stuff, plus the polyiso, plus the 1/2 inch of plywood, so it's like R8 on the floor. It's like R28 in the bulkhead. It's R18? Yeah, R18 on the ceiling, and it's R13 on the walls, on all the walls, and it's something like R26 or R28 on the doors. You can see the 1/2 inch on the very most inside, but the doors are completely filled with insulation. They're not hollow. They are completely filled. So I'm about as thermally efficient as I can be. There's some details that I could work on to make it even better, but it's about where it's gonna be. It's pretty much done. You can see the wheel wells here have been covered in 2 inches on all sides. 2 inches of polyiso and some spray foam on all sides to make sure no thermal loss occurs to those giant metal things. You can see some of the spray foam under the floor down here. See there in that little corner. But yeah, it's a little detail. Anyways, moving on. You can see over here, you've got my bathroom and wash area, my wet bath, my tiny wet bath. This is a luggable loo from Walmart. There's no bag in it right now, I haven't used it yet. It's a 5-gallon bucket that I got for free. It's a luggable loo I got from Walmart for like $12 I think, or $8. It wasn't very expensive. It's nothing fancy really. But yeah, I can poop in this. It's good to go anytime. And you just put it in the bag like you do dog do, and you pull it out and you go drop it off wherever you want. I guess presumably in a dumpster or a public restroom somewhere. Notice I have caulked around all the edges here in order to make sure no water infiltrates into the wood underneath all this plastic here. What's it called? It's fiber reinforced plastic. To give it a bit of waterproofing. I have this shower curtain here, real cheap Walmart shower curtain, about $2. It's got plastic hooks and all that. It's a piece of electrical conduit we bent into shape that we use as a shower rod. It's actually quite rigid generally. Doesn't give any problems. It allows me to sort of enclose myself, so whenever I'm taking a sponge bath, I don't get water everywhere. Which, it's not a lot of water, but over time, small water exposure to raw wood, like what is in here right now, would become a problem. You know, mold, rot, etc. The usual issues with wood and water. You can see on this end here that the same plastic material is used to sort of wall in and finish the paneling look around the corners of the van, which are also insulated with 2 inches of polyisocyanurate. You can see up here in the corner as well, right here. Yeah, that is my other hammock hook. I use a big, heavy, what's it called? It's not an eye bolt, but it's a ring with a little pin that has threads on one end, and you sort of screw it into place. And I screw the pin through that loop, and it holds my hammock up. The loop on one end of the hammock is a little bit oversized for what that is, but I mean, it works. It fit properly, so it holds the hammock up and supports my weight, so that's all that really matters to me at this point. If you look over here, behind this eye bolt, we can open up my electrical cabinet. Don't mind the dangerous little screws here. The light will adjust. It's a framed-in door. See my big-ass battery here. It's a lithium iron phosphate battery. A large, well, it's just a big lithium battery. It's a 12.8 volt, 300 amp hour deep cycle battery from Lainchan. This was a very expensive piece of kit. I don't know if I overspent on it or not, but it's supposed to have a much, much longer lifespan than the equivalent in lead acid batteries. So I'm hoping that this turns out to be a good investment. We'll see. If it doesn't, then I'll just have to claim the very good warranty on it and get either a new unit or perhaps invest in the more traditional kind of batteries, lead acid. Probably AGM or something like that, but I'm not a big fan of lead-acid batteries. Their lifespan tends to be drastically reduced compared to lithium-ion. They're much heavier, they take up a lot more space. A lot of people have a lot of good things to say about them. They're tried and true technology, they're very tested, well tested, they've existed for a long time, but sometimes it's just time to, get with the program, get up to speed, And you can see here that, getting up to speed, here I am sort of blathering on about, future technology, blah, blah, blah. But here I have a Morningstar TS60 PWM controller. The reason I went with the PWM over an MPPT is, you guessed it, cost. And because I didn't want to deal with series connections on my solar panels. I went with the PWM controller because I figured there wouldn't be much of a power loss from PWM over MPPT when you're talking about a parallel solar panel array anyways, and when you're talking about a lithium-ion battery. But I can back that up with numbers, but I'm not sure if my arguments are my reasoning behind the choice is as sound as I like to think it is. But I'm pretty sure it is. We'll have to see. I'm sure some of you in the comments will let me know if I'm very wrong. But it's a little late now since I already have the equipment, and I certainly can't take it back. So, you can also see above my charge controller, right here, the TriStar TS60, you can see up here my Ames Power pure sine wave inverter. It's a 2,000 watt continuous unit with 4,000 watts of surge capacity. Works pretty good. I've been using it regularly. The fans only turn on when it's very, very hot in here and I'm running a lot of objects. But when I'm just running my little small Hawaiian Breeze fan on this thing, and maybe my laptop, charging my laptop and running my fan, the fans on this don't even come on. So it's a pretty powerful unit. It works for whatever I need it to do. It hasn't caused any issues. Of course, I haven't run any really truly heavy loads except for that heater, which pulls about 400 watts. So I'm guessing it'll be fine, but we'll see. I doubt I'm ever going to actually max it out. I'd have to, I don't know, I'd have to run a whole bunch of stuff at once and like get a microwave and a whole bunch of other things I really don't need. But yeah, here's my van.